Hello and welcome to the Post to Post podcast. This is podcast number 93, December 21st. We're doing this on a Saturday because, well, there's a big movie out tonight that, well, it's already been released, but we're going to see it tonight, 9:45, which means we won't get home until probably close to midnight, and then we're going to film a review of the movie, and of course that movie is Star Wars. So it's going to be a late night for us, and we did not want to get up early tomorrow to film the podcast, so we're going to do it now. So some of the things that you typically see in the podcast are not going to be there, like the game reviews, because those games technically have not happened for us. This podcast will still release on Sunday and around the same normal time. But anyways, just a little bit different. But I'm joined here with Jason and Justin. Thanks, guys, for joining me. My name's Neil, by the way.
Happy to be here.
I did not say that, but just want to start this off by once again thanking anyone who donated to our set. We have a PayPal link set up down in the description on the YouTube channel, and we had some more contributions from last week, 26 now total. So we have it set up just as a little tip. If you want to contribute to basically fund this setup, the desk and the walls and everything, we still have some more things to get. Just a little tip. If you like the content, just leave a little tip. And 26 people so far have donated. So thank you so much. I really, really appreciate that. We're going to get all your names put on a plaque and put on the desk. So you'll always be there. And if you want to contribute, you have until the end of the month to get on the plaque. So thank you once again for everyone who has donated so far. Okay, let's get into some hockey talk, guys.
I'm ready.
So we kind of talked about this a little bit off camera, and Justin, you weren't a part of the conversation, which is why I would like to have it now.
Okay.
Since we're coming up on the end of the decade and we're starting a new decade, there's been a lot of talk about who's the best player of the decade that we're currently in that's just about to end. So Jason and I had a conversation earlier, and we threw some names out there. So maybe what I'll do is just name some of the names, and you guys can tell me if you yay or nay this decision that they should be best player. Crosby.
Yeah, it definitely has to be in there. Back-to-back Conn Smythes, back-to-back Stanley Cups.
He can't not be in the conversation.
But you look at individual hardware. I mean, he won most of that before, the turn of the decade. So.
Yeah.
But yeah, he has to be there.
How old is Crosby? 33 this year? Or 33 next year?
He'll be 33.
Yeah.
August 7th.
Yeah, so I mean, he's past his prime. But
yeah.
Do you think Crosby's the best player in the NHL? Because, I mean, there's some names that float around there that obviously a lot of people like to mention, like McDavid, McKinnon. But
he's there with those guys for sure.
But if you were to pick someone, who would you pick?
Like if I had to pick someone for my team?
Well, not your team, but I mean in general, the whole NHL. Who's the best player in the league?
I would say McDavid's the best player in the league.
Who would you say?
That would be my pick as well.
Really?
McKinnon second, yeah. And I'm the biggest Crosby fan there is. But, you got to look at the facts here, and McDavid just kills it.
I still think it's Crosby. I think his game is too complete both ends of the ice, and where McDavid, you're having some defensive lapses, and with McKinnon, same thing.
That'll come,
Crosby's just such a complete player.
Yeah,
and
he really
pisses me
is.
off because I don't really like him. But.
Yeah, but you got to remember, too, early on in his career, he wasn't that complete player.
That's true.
He was always yapping at the refs, taking stupid penalties, growing pains. I think as time goes on, McDavid's going to become more and more of that complete player.
Yeah, you're completely right
in
there.
time. But I think Crosby's kind of almost reached that legend status already.
I mean,
with everything he's done. There's nothing left for him to do.
Do you think he would have been inducted into the Hockey Hall of Fame if his career only lasted 4 seasons?
Ooh, that's a tough question. Well, in the 4 seasons, he would have already won quite a bit of hardware.
Yeah. So if that had ended on 2009.
Yeah. Well, after the Cup win, that could have solidified it for sure. Oh, that would have been unfortunate, but that would have been a big argument.
I think he still would have been.
It's very possible. You can't ignore the hardware.
Because you look back at certain players who did not have full careers, like Bobby Orr and what's his nuts who played for the Islanders.
Just changed the game. Bobby Orr completely revolutionized what it was, to be a defenseman. He was just that offensive juggernaut that no one had ever seen from the blue line like that before. I swear he held back all the time, just not to embarrass people. He was that good.
Maybe, eh? Yeah. Okay, let me throw another name out there. Patrick Kane.
Definitely. A couple things though, with Kane, personal wise, which I don't want to get into, but that kind of hurts him a bit.
That's true. I never thought about that.
I don't think that'll ever go away. I think there's a lot of people that really soured on the guy because of that. But if we focus away from that and just focus on hockey, he has to be there.
He has more points than Crosby in the decade.
Yeah, but look at games played. There's a lapse there of about 100 games.
Yeah, so
poor Crosby's.
Kane has to be in the conversation. He's too good not to be.
I agree.
Drew Doughty.
Right now, he looks to be drastically overpaid. But you know what's funny? He's still my favorite defenseman. And I'm almost embarrassed to say it, just because of his personality.
His personality, I was going to say.
The guy's hilarious. You ever watch his mic'd up clips?
Yes, I was watching them today, actually. It's funny you mentioned that.
Yeah, he's hilarious.
He was chirping some guy about being in the minors or something like that at one point.
I think that was Martin. Matt Martin, maybe.
He was talking to Matt Martin?
Yeah, I think so.
Because Matt Martin was also mic'd up talking to someone else about being in the minors. But
man, there's so many of those clips. I swear they just blend together. And of course, his rivalry with Kovalchuk now.
Yeah.
That's just
If
awesome.
you were to say from 2010 to 2015, is Drew Doughty one of the best players in half of a decade? I would have said, top 3 maybe. But in the last 4 years?
Well, look at the LA Cups. Would those have happened without Drew Doughty?
I'd say no.
He was the juggernaut force.
Crucial
on the blue
part
line.
of that team, yeah.
But it's sad, you have to come to that realization that the player that you know and love is not always going to be that player forever.
Yeah.
Penguins fans are seeing it now with Crosby.
In Chicago, too, with Seabrook and Keith.
Yeah.
And John
Taves.
Taves.
I was going to say Taves.
Yeah.
It happens.
Malkin.
That guy needs to be in the top 100. He just got his 400th goal the other night, for goodness sake.
It's amazing how overshadowed he is because of Sidney Crosby.
Yeah. And, segue, of course, with Nicholas Backstrom and Alexander Ovechkin.
Yep.
Backstrom just kind of gets shoved aside because, hey, arguably the greatest goal scorer of all time plays on the same team. So everyone talks about Ovechkin.
How come that doesn't happen in Chicago with Taves and Kane?
I think a lot of it's due to the regional media in Chicago just being so involved.
It's a big market.
Well, it's a big market, but I think a lot of it just really comes down to how you want to focus on it. And in Washington, you focus on the grade 8, you're putting butts in seats.
Yeah, for sure.
That guy's got the personality. He's got everything.
Ovechkin.
Great segue. Yeah, come on.
Consistent.
Oh, especially, if you look at goal scoring.
If you look at Backstrom and Ovechkin, their consistent play over the past 10 years is the main reason why Washington has been consistent in general. Tell me the year the last time that Washington missed the playoffs. Can you?
Off the top of my head, no.
I can't either.
I can tell you when they went out in the second round.
I can tell you when they went out in the first round.
Yeah, but again, that's growing pains, much like Crosby in a different way. It was Ovechkin in a different way, and he finally figured it out.
Yeah.
And Washington went all the way.
Amazing.
Yeah, and I ended up with a jersey because of it.
Yes, you did.
Yes, I did.
Holtby.
Holtby's really starting to regress now.
You think so?
He is, in my opinion.
I think he's been pretty,
Okay.
I don't want to see...
I won't say drastic regress, but it's beginning.
It's beginning.
Is the best way
That's
for me
fair.
to word
He's
that.
not as good as he was.
Yeah, that's fair. Okay, what about Crawford?
Poor Crawford.
Injury issues, obviously, and stuff, but...
Yeah, that's exactly what I was just going to say, but...
Even, he's had some bad times, obviously, but generally, Crawford's under the radar been one of the best goalies in the past decade in the NHL.
Yeah, if you focus on decade, yeah, definitely.
Price.
Well, how many goalies have won the Hart? That alone just solidifies the Carey Price
Has there been
brand.
2 in the past 20 years?
Oh, man. Off the top of my head, I don't even think I could tell you the last goalie that won the Hart, just off the top of my head.
I think... Did Jose Theodore win that?
Oh, my goodness.
I think he did, but it was a
But the fact that Price did that, that's how big of a thing it is for him as a goaltender to do that.
But it's after that, what's he done? Really? Exactly. Yeah. Patrice Bergeron.
Just the best two-way player in the NHL.
I would say probably the most underrated player, not goalie, but player on the list so far that I've mentioned.
Yeah.
He's getting a little more love in the last couple of years than he used to.
Yeah. And I think you get I would say that the general hockey fan probably doesn't like to watch Boston play.
I like watching Boston play.
Well, you're a Boston fan.
Oh, okay.
I mean, the general hockey fan. Like, there's a lot of hate for Boston out there.
I like watching them play.
But when you watch Team Canada play, and you get a chance to see some of the players you don't normally play, like Bergeron, it's a big deal.
That friggin' Crosby, Bergeron, Marchand line was amazing.
Yeah, it was.
Yeah, it was.
And that's why there should be the Olympics with NHL players.
And if someone asked me if you could handpick one player off of another team to put on your favorite team, it would be Bergeron.
I actually agree with that. Yeah.
Within an instant, I take him. You look at the face-off numbers, you look at the defensive capabilities, he's got the playmaking, the goal scoring. The guy's got it all.
He's a very complete player.
I mean, you can't have one complaint on that guy. He's incredible.
Do you ever remember a time when he struggled?
Not offhand, but there's definitely been times. Mm-hmm. He's always been solid defensively, though.
Yes.
Like, he's gone through spurts where offense-wise he doesn't, put up numbers on the board.
But you can always send him out there for a defensive draw.
Yeah, like he's always out there killing penalties. He's out. There's no situation you don't put him out.
Yeah. Shea Weber.
I got that bomb from the blue line.
And there's few people on the blue line who can shoot the puck harder than Shea Weber. Obviously, Zdeno Chara's got a pretty hard shot.
Yeah.
He doesn't use it, though. He's scared to hurt people, I think.
I think so, too.
Dad and I watch the games and just like, if they're going to block your shot, let them have it.
I know.
Let them be scared to block the shot.
Yeah.
But he's just, I think he's afraid to hurt people.
Yeah, maybe. Because he did, who did he hit with it? Was it Philip Deneau? He hit Philip Deneau 2 years ago or something like that.
I don't remember.
I don't know if it was with a puck, though, but Shea Weber has broken Gallagher's fingers with his shot. I think Pulock on the Islanders has an incredibly hard shot. Here's what I wish. If you look at the All-Star game.
I got a complaint to make after you're done.
Okay.
Hopefully I don't forget it.
You do now.
Okay. I got a complaint with the All-Star game, so don't forget your point. If you have people that win a skills event.
Yes.
Why are they not invited back the next year to defend their winning? It's going by like, oh, this team has to have this person. This team has to have this person. But then you go for the hardest shot or the fastest skater, and the fastest skater may not be at the All-Star event. It's based on who from that team you chose was the best player from that team.
Right. I agree.
So if you're going to have a competition to see who the fastest skater is, I want the fastest player in the league, whether they score 3 points or 90 points.
I know, me too. So that's kind of a segue into the point that I was going to make. Every team should have the decision to submit someone for every single competition. Like, I don't care if there's...
Because Chara hit 108 miles per hour. Is that what they measured in?
108?
It was 108 or 106 or something, right?
Dang.
The next year, he wasn't there. So I think the person who won hit 105, and they were like, oh, well, Chara... It's like, yeah, you're the best, but the guy who won last year is not here to compete against. Like, I just think that's stupid.
So, like, I don't care if there's 250 players at the All-Star game.
Not that the All-Star game is this big serious thing.
No, but
you know what I mean? Like,
that's the point of it.
If you're going to have a skills competition, cherry pick the people that you think are the best and have them there doing it.
I don't think it should be fan vote. I think every team should submit. Like, for hardest shot, there should be a threshold. If you can't hit 100 miles an hour, and no one in your team can hit 100 miles an hour, your team doesn't get to send someone. So if there's 11 people or 11 teams have one player representing them, fine. If there's 3, fine. Like, I don't want to see Ovechkin has a really hard shot.
Right.
Don't get me wrong, but he's not the player I think of when it comes to hardest shot competition. I think about players like Weber and Chara and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
But for the accuracy competition, how would you determine in advance of the All-Star game what players you think would be the best accuracy?
Well, every team usually has their own All-Star game for their fans. Like, it's not televised. Some teams list their...
It's just like a local thing.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. So I think every team should be mandatory to have their own All-Star games themselves before Christmas, and then the winner of each competition there can go on to the All-Star game. And of course, if Sidney Crosby doesn't win any competitions for Pittsburgh, he still gets to go because he's Sidney Crosby. Like, you still have some fan voted players or whatever if you still want to do the fan vote. But still, if you're going to have a competition for hardest shot, then you need to have the players there who have the hardest shot.
Like, we talked about this last podcast. What do you think of them? Did you hear what they're going to do? Like, they're going to be standing up in the what do you call them, press boxes, and they're going to be shooting pucks. What do you think about that?
You know what I think? I think, here's devil's advocate, get rid of all of it.
See, I'm 100% okay with that.
I'm okay with that.
Get rid of all of it.
And that's what I said. I said, if you're going to do it right.
Yes.
If you're not going to do it right, do something else.
Exactly. It's just, I don't know.
It's a money grab for the league.
It's 100%, and it's promotion for the sponsors is all it is.
It's very local oriented. like the kids get to get autographs and stuff, which is awesome. It's good that whatever city they have it in, it's important. But I mean, it could be so much better globally.
It's fun if you're there. It's just not really a serious TV event. You know what I mean? Like for the people who are there, sure. It's like if I was down in Boston, head in Boston, I'd love that. Do that all weekend. Heck yeah. You could do all the gimmicks you want. I'm gonna have a great time.
Yeah.
But I'm not gonna sit home on TV and watch that. Crap.
Exactly. I mean, Justin, you've been to an All-Star game.
I've been there.
2009.
2009.
Yeah. So, you know what it's like.
Oh yeah, I know exactly what it was like.
And it's probably pretty awesome in person, even though it's not.
When I was there, it was still the 5-on-5.
Yeah.
You know, I almost fell asleep. It was horrible. It was horrendous. But at the same time, I was very excited. I'm seeing a lot of players.
Yeah.
You know,
that you would
great.
maybe like you'd have to see 15 games in NHL to see some of the
Well,
quality
yeah,
talent.
that's just it. I mean, the atmosphere was electric. You know, people were on fire. But I mean, the game itself was absolutely horrendous.
Yeah.
It wasn't fun to watch whatsoever. The skills competition was fun to see, though, as a fan, being there, you know, screaming stuff.
That was in Montreal too, right?
Yeah, it was in
I think that was a big
Montreal,
year for Montreal because it was their 100-year anniversary, I think.
Yeah, and I mean, you know, with fan vote and everything, it was just flooded with Canadian players.
Yeah.
And of course,
Kovalev was there.
Yeah,
I think
Price.
Komisarek was there.
Yeah, Komisarek.
Price.
But I mean, atmosphere-wise, it was great. But devil's advocate in me tells me just get rid of it. To me, it's a huge waste of time.
What can they do instead?
Well, to be honest, I think what would be great is to have just a week layoff, a full week, cherry pick 2 teams every year and have an international game.
What about injuries?
Injuries can happen, obviously, but it's still an actual regular season game. Like this is.
What do you mean it's a regular season?
Have a regular season game international. What a great way to spread the game outside of North America.
So 2 NHL teams playing.
Because you have international games right at the beginning of the season.
Yeah.
Why not have it midway through, where the All-Star game
I think some of them were last year, weren't they?
And have an international game just to help grow the game outside of North America. Plus, for some of these players, like if you had it in Finland, you had it in Switzerland or Sweden, some of these guys would be ecstatic to play in their home country. You know, representing the team that they're playing for in the NHL. And at the same time, it gives a lot of guys a break. If it's overseas, they get a trip out of it, some team bonding experience.
Are you talking about every team or just some teams?
Just 2.
What about if they did every team? 2 teams per country somewhere in the world.
That's a lot of logistics.
That would be that'd be kind of hard to work out.
Sponsors aren't making any money off that.
But to be honest, I think just keep the season going. Just forget the All-Star game. And it seems like this argument comes up every single year with multiple media sources about positives of the All-Star game, the negative. Right. I think if you polled the players, like if you just did a poll where no one's identified, it's all unanimous, I think 90% of the players would say.
Yeah, I agree. Absolutely. Because now if a player's voted in, they get a suspension if they don't show up. Like Price did last year and Ovechkin did last year.
Yeah, some players take it willingly. It's only one game, right? But they're seeing, all their teammates grab the wife and the kiddies. They're heading down, down south where it's all nice and sunny, going to Hawaii, and oh wait, I got to go to the skills comp in the All-Star game.
Yeah.
Wah, wah, wah.
Exactly.
I don't know. But now that it's 3-on-3, it is more exciting. I give them that.
Where is it this year? Is it St. Louis?
I don't even remember. To be honest, I care so little.
Yeah, that's how little I
don't even remember.
I think it might be St. Louis still, but
it's nice that they changed it up.
We got off topic a little bit here, but I just have one player left, Lundqvist.
Oh, yeah. I've always been a big supporter and fan of Lundqvist.
He was the man for a long time.
He was the man.
Dude's got the hair. Give him that.
His career is coming to an end, unfortunately.
It's sad, and to be honest, he could go down as the greatest goalie of all time to never win a cup.
Yeah.
And that pains me because I've always been a big fan of his.
Yeah, I agree.
It sucks. But I think he's that loyal to the Rangers, he'll just close out his career there. If a cup doesn't happen, it doesn't happen.
Yeah.
And I think he'll be okay with it.
And I think once he goes back to Sweden, he'll probably be involved with an international team or something back there. Because his brother plays he has a twin brother.
Maybe he could transition to a goalie coach or something.
Maybe.
Is there any chance New York could hire him on to be front office staff, like a lot of people seem to be doing?
Yeah, I could probably see that, but
because it sounds like the owner in Washington wants Backstrom and Ovechkin both, when they're done their careers, to become front office people.
I can see Ovechkin doing that.
He said he wants them both. That Ted Leonis, or however you pronounce it.
Yeah, I mean, I think a lot, like specifically Finnish and Swedish players. I think
because right now Backstrom is negotiating his own contract, is he not? He doesn't even have an agent right now. He's representing himself.
Is he really?
Yeah.
I just see a trend with the Finnish and Swedish players. Once they're done, they go back to their homeland, like Forsberg or Sundin.
I mean, I can't blame them for
Koivu. Like they're all involved in internationally with their teams. Yager, yeah. So I don't know about Lundqvist. That's his brother, like his brother's over there. So I'm thinking he goes back to Sweden, but who knows? That's all the players I had. I could have probably had some more on there as well, but I'll just leave it at that. Next up on the list is something you mentioned to me, actually, the Finnish Liga decision to really try and get this whole headshot thing under control. So I believe you mentioned there's a 5-game minimum for any headshot and up to 60 games or 9 months maximum suspension.
9 months.
60 games.
So if you hit a guy in the head, even if it's accidentally, 5 games minimum, and then 5 to 90. So you said
5 to 60
5
games
to 60.
or 9 months maximum.
So I mean, as soon as you hit a guy, you're automatically getting between 5 and 60.
Yeah. So, but 9 months. How many months are between October and April are there?
So what that seems like to me is it's possible if you headshot a guy towards the end of the year, it's possible that could carry on over into the first part of the year.
So if you, hypothetically, we'll say their season starts the same as the NHL. October, November, December, January, February, March, April. That's 7 months. So if you do it in the first game of the league, or first game of the season, sorry, you could potentially be out for the entire
the whole
season.
It
and maybe 2 more months.
You would think that would have to be a pretty vicious hit. Like your head
60 games, interesting, though, that they're taking that approach. We'll probably see something like that soon in the NHL. Injuries. Quite a few injuries recently in the NHL. Josh Levo to miss 2 or 3 months with a fractured kneecap.
Ew.
Just think about that. A fractured kneecap?
I don't even want to think about that.
How do you heal that?
Oh my God.
How do you put a cast on your kneecap?
That would be drastic.
I don't know the process of that healing. That can he move his knee? Or does he have to keep it straight?
I would think, that's what I would assume.
I assume too.
There's no way you're bending that.
Yeah, because if you bend your knee, it probably puts
that's
pressure.
Gotta be painful. I don't even want to think about it.
Clutterbuck out indefinitely after wrist surgery. That's a big loss. Zucker out 4 to 6 weeks with surgery to repair a fibula.
That's a big blow for the
That's
Wild.
a huge blow. Kemper out week to week with a lower body injury. That's a big blow to Arizona. Crosby's back skating. You said earlier off camera, which is good.
Back skating.
He better be back by January 16th because I'm going to see.
He should be, though. The timeline does suggest he will be.
He better
by
be.
that point.
Okay, this was just announced actually just a couple of hours ago. I think Elias Anderson has requested a trade with the Rangers. 21 years old, 1 assist in 17 games with the Rangers this year. He was sent down 4 goals and 1 assist with a -9 rating in the AHL this year in 13 games. Overall, he has 3 goals and 6 assists in 66 games with the Rangers total. Now, he was a pretty high draft pick if my memory serves me correctly, and he's also the player that threw his medal into the stands, if my memory also serves me correctly. So
I remember that. That was big headlines.
That's kind of bold for a young player to request a trade. The only other player I can think of that has done that is Jonathan Drouin. I can't think of any others
Seems to be becoming more common, though.
That players dictating their...
Yeah, requesting trades. Maybe this is another situation of change of scenery. It's better for both the organization and the player.
Yeah.
It's very possible.
So if you're the Rangers, do you accommodate?
Well, at this point, you're not really... I don't want this to sound bad, but you're not exactly losing a 30-goal scorer here.
Yeah.
It's not going to be a drastic loss by any means.
He's not producing.
So I see this just being one of those, we'll just sit on this and do this.
Yeah, it's not urgent for the Rangers to move on.
Absolutely not.
Yeah.
It's not like there's going to be a solid return that they can turn into something productive tomorrow.
Yeah.
It's just absolutely not going to happen.
Kovalchuk. Now technically a UFA.
Yep.
Sort of. Still being paid by 2 other teams, but is available to play for another team. Which
dude is a genius.
It's ridiculous. But there's a roster freeze, which is going to prevent some of this. But Boston, Carolina, Florida, Columbus, and maybe Edmonton could be options for Kovalchuk. Do you think it's fair that he's allowed to play in the NHL still?
This is such a weird situation. How the guy got in with New Jersey, that huge contract that drew so much controversy at the time because of the numbers associated with that contract. And then he retires to go to the KHL. And I really thought, okay, he's going to play the rest of his professional career in the KHL, and then all of a sudden he comes back to the NHL, which I thought would have never happened, and the LA Kings completely overpaid, and now we're back in the same situation. Very well, not same. It's not like he retired again, but very similar situation. And now LA has that full cap hit next year. That really hurts them.
I just think it's silly because if you trade a player and there's salary retained, that other team can't trade that player again and then retain more of the salary. That's illegal, I believe, in the NHL.
There has to be specific rules. Or first thing you'd see a player bounce, and then teams retaining salary for a draft pick.
And the point of it is that you can't have more than two. You can have more than two teams pay for this one player. If Kovalchuk signs somewhere, that's what's going to happen. New Jersey, LA, and whoever he signs with is going to be paying Kovalchuk. How is that fair?
There's going to be a team that picks him up, whether he's over 35 or not. And the fact that he's basically put out via his agent that he would be willing to sign, right about league minimum, people will take notice of that. He's a weapon you could put out there on the power play. He could help get you that goal. Hey, Columbus Blue Jackets could definitely use some power play help. Maybe he could be a guy to do that. But don't look at him to be a guy to come in and take first line minutes. That's just not going to happen. But at the same time, too, he has to be willing to go into that role. First thing, he can't be with the team and start complaining that he's not getting first-line minutes. He's not a first-line minute player. He's really not.
And that's kind of what pisses me off about it, though. He took $6 million. There was other teams probably offering him. Realistically, he took the most money he could get 2 years ago when he signed.
That's the way it comes off, because the Boston Bruins were very interested in him, too.
So now he's going to take
sign with LA.
League minimum? Why didn't he do that 2 years ago?
He just wants to close out the year. He wants an opportunity to play with the team that's going to make the playoffs.
Yeah,
I guess.
He just wants a chance to be in the playoffs. And then he'll deal with, another contract in the offseason. He just wants to close out the year.
Yeah. I don't necessarily blame New Jersey. I don't necessarily blame the Kings.
I blame the Kings.
It's almost I blame them for being stupid to sign him for that much.
Well, not just that. Look, next year, I mentioned this to you the other day. Mike Richards, Dion Phaneuf, and now Ilya Kovalchuk, they have $11 million of their cap paying these guys next year.
Yeah.
And all three are not playing with the LA Kings. That is terrible management.
Same with New Jersey with Corey Schneider, Michael Camilleri, Kovalchuk, and I think there's one more. I can't remember. Taylor Hall.
So Hall will come off next year, but it's still going to be seven some million.
To me, it's not really a New Jersey issue. It's not really a Kings issue, although they're both a little stupid. But I think it's an NHL issue. I don't know. I don't think it should be allowed. And I kind of blame Kovalchuk a little bit. I don't think he should be allowed back in the NHL. Fool me once.
Harsh.
Shame on you. Fool me twice. Shame on me. We're on the third rendition of Kovalchuk.
Can you really blame him, though? Teams are constantly willing to take him.
If they're going for him, it's not his fault.
Not this time. No, I don't blame Kovalchuk with the LA thing, but I just think it's silly. I just don't think you should have three teams paying one player. Like, okay, if he's taking league minimum, which I think is $700,000.
Yep.
And you say he goes to Boston, but then you have LA paying more than $700,000. You have New Jersey paying more than $700,000. Why should Boston get the benefit? They're paying less and getting all the benefit
because that's the contract those GMs signed.
I know it's stupid.
So that's on them to eat that.
It's stupid.
Boston comes out then looking like a genius because they're picking up basically something better because of what the other teams did that was bad.
Yeah,
they're now able to get a player that could possibly produce fairly significantly for league minimum to close out the
even
year.
if he sucks. You're paying league minimum.
Yeah, exactly.
You're not losing anything.
Yeah, it's kind of like I think when Iginla was trying to win a cup closer to the end of his career. I think it was either Pittsburgh or Boston.
Iginla said the Boston Bruins dressing room was the most fit dressing room he's ever been in his life. Fit.
What do you mean fit?
Like muscles, like dudes jacked.
Why was he looking at naked dudes?
Because that's what you do in the dressing room.
Man, that's not what I did in the dressing room.
Boys, let's hit the showers. And then you go in the shower together. Like, I guess, whatever. Anyways,
I'm not. Why do you like the Boston Bruins? Is that why you like the Boston Bruins?
I didn't even know that. That's a new thing I learned from Jerome Iginla.
Wow, that's amazing.
Iginla's full of surprises.
Yeah, he is. Let's move on from this conversation. Taylor Hall. Apparently, there's a real possibility, just released today, that he will resign with the.
I think that's agent propaganda.
I 100% agree.
Yeah.
Why would he?
Why would you say he wouldn't be? Like, why would you feed that to the market of the team you just went to? Like, oh, we don't know if he'll sign with you guys or not. You got to say he's going to sign.
Exactly.
Even if he doesn't, you could say, well, he was thinking about it, but...
Don't forget, via his agent, they basically stated, well, when he was with the Devils, that we're not going to be negotiating anything until the season's over. That, to me, just instantly says his mind's made up. He wants to hit the market.
Absolutely.
I think that's what they all want. Once they hit 27 and they're up to be a free agent, they want to hit the market. Look at Panarin, what he cashed in on. I think Taylor Hall's going to get something very similar if he hits.
Taylor Hall, for his sake, has to wait. Even if he legitimately, internally wants to play for the Coyotes, he has to wait.
It's not going to get worse if he waits.
Exactly. It's going to get better, probably.
I mean, players in other leagues go to free agency all the time. They dictate what they want to do. Hockey is different, where generally speaking, they don't do that. But then you've seen it with buddy boy in Toronto. What's his name again? Sorry, Tavares. Tavares went to free agency.
Who'd you say?
I said Martin. First name
Matt Martin.
So Tavares, everyone kind of thought Islanders were going to get him back.
Correct.
And they did. They didn't. So they lost him for nothing.
Yes.
So I think, and like we were talking about earlier, how the younger players are kind of dictating what they want now. Like sorry to pick on Toronto, but
Marner Matthews.
look at the contracts they're getting. Like young guys that haven't really proven anything yet, haven't won a playoff round yet, demanding that money. So they're putting a handicap on their team about flexibility. And I think this newer, younger generation, not saying that Taylor Hall is, but I think they're going to be not as loyal to their teams as past players would have been.
That's why I think there should be a cap.
But I'm okay with them deciding to go to free agency and say, I'm going to go where I want to go.
But are you okay with them getting paid $11 million and they're 22?
I
think there should be a cap up to 25. You're not allowed to make more than $7 million or a percentage of the cap or whatever. Say it's 6.5 or it's $7 million or whatever until you are over the age of 25.
See, I don't think you could do that.
Why?
The PA would never go for that.
Well, that's the same thing with
the GMs would love it.
Like if you look in baseball, they do that in baseball, right? They stretch out how long their young players coming up until they have to start paying them on their whatever salary, like their main salary.
Yeah, so ELC.
So they're kind of penalizing that player by keeping them down when that player could be the best player on the team.
With an ELC in the NHL, you're not allowed to pay the player more than $900,000, I think it is, or something like that.
Yeah.
So, and I think that's for the first 2 years. I think maybe in the NHL.
You can have some bonuses in there, like if they reach specific milestones.
Yeah,
I don't think there should be caps. I think the GMs just need to be smarter.
Well, I mean, that's a part of it too.
Well, here's a question, gentlemen.
Wrong.
If you have, Matthews and Marner, they were coming up for their contracts, like they got with, Dubas in Toronto. Say they were with the Islanders, with Lou Lamoriello. No. Would they have gotten those contracts?
No, definitely Nylander would have been sitting that entire year.
Absolutely. Yeah, there's no way that contract happens.
I think when the Nylander contract was signed, that opened the doors for the other two to say, we don't need to sign anything early. We're going to get what we want.
Yeah.
And they did.
I think it showcased that Dubas would cave and basically give them anything they want. Mm-hmm. And I'm sorry, those contracts are too high.
I agree.
At that point of their career,
I think
without winning a playoff round and everything.
I think Dubas is trying to be the good guy too to them. Like he's saying, like I told you guys I'd keep these guys together. I will keep them together, and then he paid a price to be able to keep them together.
Yeah, and it's not like this the demise of the Toronto Maple Leafs. No. They're probably going to go far one of these years in the playoffs. So it's
they got to get in first this year.
They got to get in, yeah.
Of course, they're right there. But
speaking about Nylander, have you heard the rumors recently around him and PK Subban?
One
for one trade.
Oh, a one. Oof.
Nylander for PK Subban.
Well, Subban has kind of fell flat with the Devils, unfortunately.
I can't see Toronto picking up PK.
The salary.
Well, it's $9 million.
Yeah, and Nylander's $7, I think.
Geez, I don't recall the exact dollar value off the top of my head, but regardless, Nylander has been solid this year, and he's still getting flack this year for not being, the guy or not doing well enough. Mm-hmm. I'm sorry, he would not be a guy that I would pick on in Toronto. Not this season, especially.
For that trade to happen, New Jersey would have to retain salary. They're already paying 4 people this year that aren't.
It's what they do.
Well, it's what they do.
Well, Hull is coming off the book, so there's $3 million right there.
And technically, Subban could as well at the end of the season, depending on the trade agreement. But
it's unfortunate. I really thought Subban would do well with the Devils, but man, he's really regressed since coming from the Predators.
He's a player that no one wants.
Well, there's still always that talk that, the guy's a cancer in the dressing room and so on. But I mean, hey, we're not in there. We can't really say specifically.
We'll know eventually.
Could you think Subban being as good as he was guilty by association. You know, you look when he won the Norris, and you look at the guys that he was paired with when he was with Montreal and then with Nashville, who has a very solid blue line.
Yeah.
You mix PK Subban in there, and suddenly he's looking better than
that's true.
Than he should be.
Like Markov on Montreal.
Right.
And then
that
Yossi
was a deadly duo,
and
Markov and Subban.
Ekholm.
Someone else to cover up his defensive lapses.
That's a good point.
Because how often would we see Subban, you know, give up a 2-on-1 because he wanted to deliver that big body check, and then he missed, and then it's a 2-on-1 the other way, and he left Markov out to dry.
Yeah.
You know, we've seen that quite a bit when he played with Montreal, and I used to just all the time, like, you can't do that. You know, unless you know 100% you're going to be able to make body contact. Maybe he's now finally being, you know, exploited to the point where, hey, we're showing the flaws. And maybe now we're seeing that, okay, he's not that $9 million defenseman.
Can you just real quickly check to see if his mic's still working? We have a third mic set up here. Can you just plug it in, just make sure it's still on?
What?
Put that headphone on and just make sure you can still hear him. This is kind of weird, but we haven't used the third mic.
I hope so, because I had a good rhyme there.
Yeah, I can hear him.
Okay. Because I don't know if it's like an auto shut off or if the back, because we're not recording on it, right? It's just plugged in.
Oh, yeah.
So I just want to make sure that the battery doesn't die or anything.
The mic sucks, but yeah, I can still hear him.
No, the mic's fine. It's just not a $300.
Yeah, exactly. Backstrom got his 900th point.
900. Yes.
It's a pretty big deal.
That guy's so underrated. I still say he's underrated. I don't know if I still classify him as the most underrated player in the NHL, but to me, he's still underrated. And
top three.
That's probably, and that's mainly just because Alexander Ovechkin's on the team and he's just kind of forgotten. But man, he's just an incredible two-way hockey player.
If Nicholas Backstrom was on the Minnesota Wild, would he be considered a superstar there?
Oh, I think he's still a superstar.
You think so?
I still think so. I mean, come on, he had a 100-point season and everything. He was a big part of the Stanley Cup team and whatnot. He's a great player.
I think he just people don't think of him as much, but I think he was on. If he was on a different team, I think he would.
Yeah, it's kind of like Malkin, like you mentioned. Malkin with Pittsburgh, you know, you have Crosby and Malkin. Malkin's sometimes forgotten. They forgot to put him on the top 100. You know, I mean, come on.
Do you think that if Backstrom was on Minnesota, there would be more Backstrom jerseys sold?
Why do you keep going to Minnesota?
Because they don't really have a superstar. They don't have anyone.
Ooh,
they got Suter.
Ouch.
I mean, really.
Ouch. Parise? Come on, superstar Parise.
I don't know. Eric Stahl.
Eric Stahl, well, he did have a 40-goal season.
Man, Eric Stahl's freaking pro.
With the Minnesota Wild. Yeah, he had his 1,000 point. Was it last week or the week before? It wasn't that long ago.
Yeah, it was not long ago.
His 1,000 point. So that's quite substantial.
Okay, moving on a little bit. The whole helmet rule, where if you lose your helmet, you're forced to skate straight to the bench. Give up on the play. It doesn't matter what you're doing. You have to go to the bench. There was a play recently where Evander Kane ripped the helmet off of Lyubushkin. Is that how you say his name? Lyubushkin. And anyways, Lyubushkin got a penalty for it because he played without his helmet. So if a guy wants to really mess things up, does he force the helmet off another player just to get him off the ice?
I think it comes down to the official actually seeing the act. I mean, if you see another player do that, I mean...
But you can't let him play without his helmet because it's the rule. You lose your helmet, you got it, regardless of the decision.
So you guys have seen the clip.
Yes.
Do you think what Evander Kane did there deserves a penalty?
No.
Then do you think that... See, that's interesting. Because I don't think it is either. But that play forces that player to leave and give you a 5-on-4.
Yeah, and it could have easily resulted to a goal. Or maybe it did. I don't know. I didn't watch the rest of the play.
It didn't. But it immediately resulted in a penalty.
Yeah, which could have,
So instead of going back to the bench, he just stayed in the play. And then one of the other San Jose players was just like, hey, that guy doesn't have a penalty on helmet. He doesn't have a helmet on.
Yeah.
Ref blows the whistle immediately.
I don't know.
So
wear your helmet tighter.
I mean, we've talked about the straps before.
Yeah.
Freaking tighten them up. But it just seems like that's a loophole to be able to take someone out of the play.
I completely agree. So I don't know the right answer. I don't know the decision to make it so there's not a loophole. But I'll tell you this. I don't agree that they should have to go to the bench. It should be up to the player.
Talked about that before.
Should be up to the player.
But if not having your penalty or your why can't I say helmet?
I don't know.
If not having your helmet on is now a penalty if you don't immediately leave the ice, then shouldn't taking someone's helmet off also be a penalty regardless of how it's done?
Regardless if it was intentional or not.
Yes, because
maybe.
Because then you'll have two rules that I don't agree with, but at least they don't allow you to take a player out. You know what I mean?
So, for example, if someone takes another player's helmet off and that player does not go to the bench, they both get penalties.
That'd be weird. Or just the player that takes the guy's helmet off gets the penalty for removing the helmet of another player.
But what if that guy doesn't go to the bench?
It doesn't matter. As soon as the helmet's off, it's a penalty. The arm goes up. If the guy doesn't go to the bench right away, then both arms go up. He stands there like this. And then he goes, you can't do that. Wes McCauley style.
Yeah. You're both in.
You're both in. Either way, I think they're both dumb, but I don't like that you can take someone out of a play like that. Because I agree, that shouldn't have been a penalty on Kane. Like he was in the corner, just head down, digging for the puck.
We see battles like that all the time.
Yeah. So, I mean, it could just be a one-off situation, but for now, I guess tighten the straps up. And
all right.
That could be a loophole, too, for a stoppage and play. Like, if you're really pinned in your own zone, could be a loophole.
So what if you take your own
There were
helmet
clips
off?
like decades ago of players picking up a puck and throwing it over the glass. You know, before the whole delay a game thing. They're like, oh my God, we've been pinned in forever. Just grab the puck and whip it over the glass. Get a line change.
So if you're stuck on your own end and you're having a hard time getting the puck out.
Well, say you're in a scrimmage, you can't really see everybody's heads, and you're just in there digging for the puck. You know, oh, maybe I'll lose.
No, I'm not even talking about a scrum.
Okay.
If you take your own helmet off,
you got to go to the bench.
No, you stay out on the ice.
You get a penalty.
Exactly, but at least the play gets stopped and you can change and you get fresh guys out there. They'll take the penalty as long as it's to stop the puck or to stop the play. You literally just take your helmet off and put it on the ice.
So
it's like a protest. Just take it off, sit it down.
Like that's not going to happen, but it could happen. That's how ridiculous the rule is.
So do you think there's a situation where things could be so dire that you think you're imminently going to get scored on, so you're going to take your helmet off?
Exactly.
But
how ridiculous of a highlight would that be?
Here's the
guy's going in on a breakaway. The defenseman's come behind us, grabs his helmet, takes it off, and whips it.
Okay, so here's the other question.
My helmet's off.
So if you play without a helmet, does the play get blown down right away, or is it an arm up once your team touches the puck?
Once your team touches the puck.
Yeah. So
but he could wait until one of his teammates is close to the puck and kind of has an inch goes like this and takes it off. Like it's ridiculous.
But it ties in with the whole head injury thing, you know, and they're just going more and more with this.
Which I don't disagree with. Obviously, the more protection of players and their head injuries and stuff, but I just think it should be up to the player. If you're on the ice, your helmet comes off, and you decide to continue playing, whatever happens from that point on is on your shoulders. It's like it's not NHL removes all liability.
You know what I can honestly say and be 100% honest? Anytime I ever played hockey, like whether it was outdoor, indoor, I've never once ever lost my helmet. I can't recall once where my helmet ever came off.
They wear their straps down to here.
Oh yeah,
it's ridiculous.
Yeah,
like you may as well
never
have
happened.
one.
Yeah, honestly.
I mean, in reality, do you have to make it so that it can come off? Is that necessary?
How do you police that?
I just don't understand how helmets can sometimes come off so easily.
Yeah, like if I were to go put my helmet on and you were to do what Evander Kane did to me, there's no way that helmet's coming off my head.
I agree.
Full on reenactment.
That just shows you. That just shows you how. Whatever.
Yes, but how do you police that? Is it like the measurement of the stick?
Maybe having this in.
Like if someone's gonna call shenanigans on someone else's helmet.
She said as soon as you said that. But can you imagine the referee with a ruler checking the distance of the chin strap to his chin?
That's what I'm talking about.
Oh, it's under an inch and a half. Tighten it up, sonny boy.
That's what she
Maybe
said.
having this type of play is supposed to make it so people tighten them up, but they're just not.
Maybe. I don't know. Well, yeah, you might be right.
I just don't like that. I don't like how that play happened. I don't think that in that scrum, he should have either had to leave or get a penalty. Like, I think it's dumb that he got a penalty.
I agree.
But I also think it's dumb that if he doesn't want to get a penalty, he has to leave his own zone and leave his team shorthanded.
Yeah, it's just a silly rule.
You think they would just let the play go until there's a stoppage in play, you know, whether offside, goalie freezes the puck, whatever, but they want to protect the players. I mean, you look at the lawsuit, right, with head injuries, you know, CTE and everything else ongoing with the NHL. Yeah. This makes them look good in the public eye.
And that's
that
the
they're
thing.
Doing something
I'm
like
not
this.
saying that I'm right or we're right or anything. Obviously, there's the other part of the argument is important because of the head issues and stuff. But we're allowed to have our own opinions and stuff. And you're allowed to have your own opinions at home and stuff too. But to me, there's just whatever's happening right now as a solution is not the right one because we get plays like we just talked about.
Can I segue into something else?
You sure
Since we were talking about that rule.
Totally.
Face-off violations.
Oh.
And the penalty there.
I've only seen that twice.
I've seen it several times this year.
This year?
And to be honest, penalty because of face-off violation. This guy gets blown out, the other guy comes in to take the draw, and then first thing, okay, he jumps the gun.
Oh, boom, I haven't seen that this year yet.
It's a minor. To me, I think 90% of this is really on the linesman.
It's subjective.
Oh my God.
Drop the puck.
Yeah, drop the puck. But that's what every sports analyst, professional or not professional, has been saying for the past 10 years, and it never gets better. So
it drives me crazy. It's only been several times this year I've seen it where the minor penalty was called for face-off violation, and every time I just wanted to scream at the linesman, just drop the puck.
And the problem is, if you're going to be like that, then be like that in every game. It's so inconsistent. One game, the refs and linesmen will be completely fine.
Right.
And the next game, it's the worst one you've ever watched. It's so frustrating.
But before the rule, and I get why they kind of went this way, is because they would just constantly, jump the gun. Like after an icing, they would just constantly do it in order to just get more rest. So I kind of get it. I do. But dang.
Yeah, it's frustrating as a viewer. Mark Crawford, back as of January 2nd, I believe. So apparently he has sought some help for, or to become a better player and a better coach. Or a better person and a better coach, sorry.
He's going to get counseling. He's been actively getting counseling.
Well, if Bill Peters was actively getting counseling or said that he would you allow him to come back?
His was a racial slur. This is violence, right?
Well,
That's what Mark Crawford
I thought I heard Mark Crawford was not that it was racial, but he was saying things that he shouldn't to players and stuff.
I think the racial stuff is the top of the food chain.
You think that was what?
I don't think there's any coming back from that.
Yeah. So do you think Mark Crawford should be allowed to come back by January 2nd? Since their internal investigation is done?
Honestly, it doesn't. Yeah. I don't really care.
I'm in the same way. I don't really care.
At the same time, I really think the NHL needed to have something in place like they're implementing now. That should have been there a heck of a long time ago.
Yeah.
You hear all these stories of former players, whether it's current player, and you're hearing some of these things and you're thinking, okay, if this conduct happened, like we all have day jobs, if that type of conduct happen where we work, what would be the consequence?
Yeah, I heard a theory, or it's not a rumor. It's a suggestion by someone who says that every single NHL team should have a representative from the NHL who follows them around everywhere. Ooh. Like on road trips, he's there on the plane. He's in the dressing room between periods.
Just monitoring.
He's just there. He's just there monitoring.
See, but to me, this should be like a PA issue. Like every team has one or two players that represents that team to the PA. If you have issues with something going on, especially now that this stuff's out,
yes,
you just go to the PA and let them deal with it.
I agree, and that's why the hotline was set up too. So I don't know.
See, another reason why I think the hotline was set up, and before the hotline was set up, they were actually telling people to go to the PA if they had issues and not to go to social media.
Yes,
social media is where stuff gets done.
I wish it wasn't like that, but you're right.
If you make a call to the PA like before this hotline came out, that's going to go somewhere to die. Like, yeah, maybe something will happen, but if you go public, it's going to happen quicker.
Yeah, absolutely. Do you know who Casey Neistat is?
Yes.
If Casey Neistat has a problem with Samsung, and he goes to Samsung just as a regular consumer and tries to get something resolved.
He ain't emailing Samsung.
Is he going to do that, or is he going to go to social media?
He's going to go on YouTube and release a video about Samsung.
Exactly.
Especially if you got pulled and you have a lot of followers, you can get immediate.
And that's what it's all about, because stuff like that can go viral, and people, that mob mentality a bit online.
People have platforms now, so.
Yeah. Well, think of it this way: when Bill Peters was the head coach of the Carolina Hurricanes, apparently, as reported, there was conduct that happened there as well, and we're only finding out about it now because of Akim Malou. Right. And, Ron Francis was kind of in some hot water because he was the general manager of the Carolina Hurricanes at the time. He knew about the conduct. He claimed that, it was dealt with. Peters was spoken to or whatever, and then it was forgotten. Well, apparently there was some other conduct and so on. And everything just kept spiraling. And that's why Ron Francis was kind of in hot water. Meanwhile, he's going to be the first GM for the Seattle franchise. Yeah. And people are already saying, well, geez, Ron Francis, maybe he should have some sort of discipline because this situation happened and it wasn't dealt with. Bill Peters was still behind the bench and so on. Maybe this was the wake-up call the NHL needed in order to better, filter through this type of stuff. Because look, in my work environment, that stuff just wouldn't be tolerated whatsoever.
Totally.
If there was a racial slur, if there was physical abuse, heck, even just verbal abuse in general towards another employee, that type of conduct's not going to happen. And to me, I kind of joked around when, the NHL announced their 6-point plan. I was like, wow, they finally have an HR department, because like any business, they have an HR department, HR representatives that deal with this type of stuff. And it just seems like the NHL was kind of behind on, getting to that point where they need to be.
And now they're trying to go beyond that and be trying to future-proof it a little bit more.
Right.
So, I mean, I definitely appreciate that, but yeah, we are where we are because the NHL didn't have the proper things set up.
It just came off as yearly courses the coaches have.
Oh yeah, those yearly courses, they're going to do a lot.
Yeah, that was interesting.
Yeah.
I can just imagine Tortorella sitting at a desk.
Yeah, can you imagine?
With a pencil,
He'd try and get a fight with
And then you have a bunch of reporters sitting outside the room after, Mr. Tortorella, what'd you think of that? He's just going to give him a look and walk away.
Next question.
Let's hit some trade rumors here. Sorry, were you going to say something?
Nope.
Jay Gardner, Justin, you mentioned earlier that Jay Gardner's kind of in the rumors. What have you heard?
He's fifth on their defense in ice time. And, they really went out of their way to get Gardner. Because remember, there was a long period where everyone was talking about Gardner and saying, how's he not signed yet?
Yeah.
Come on, somebody sign Gardner. And then Carolina goes out, they sign him, but they got so much defensive depth, Gardner's almost becoming expendable. You look at Dougie Hamilton and the season he's having.
Right.
I think there could be some teams that could take some notice on him, and they might be able to get, semi-decent return.
Have you heard any specific teams that are interested or anything?
Well, there'd be teams with defensive issues. I would instantly point to the Montreal Canadiens.
Yes.
They could be a good fit. And I remember before he signed with Carolina, there was rumors that, Montreal might be interested, but maybe Gardner didn't want to go there and so on. I think that could potentially be a decent fit. If there's one thing on the Canadiens right now I'd point to say, okay, they need some help in this area, it would be on the blue line.
Absolutely, yeah. And specifically in the penalty kill, it's bad. Tyler Toffoli.
Well, LA. Look at LA and everything they've been going through over the last several years. I really like Toffoli.
Very underrated.
Yeah, very underrated.
Not consistent.
LA.
Underrated.
I really wish they would do kind of like the Rangers did and just put out a press statement to say we're going into rebuild mode.
That was amazing.
Yeah, and I mean, look what they accomplished just in the 18 months since that. Wow.
Yeah.
They've done incredible. I mean, obviously they still got some ways to go, but they're getting there. And I think LA needs to commit to that now. 100%, especially after the Kovalchuk situation. That's more negativity for them.
Exactly. Yeah.
And I think Toffoli is going to be on the outs there. They got to start looking to the future.
Yep, I agree. Metro Division standings. It's an interesting division because there's we saw it last year.
Yeah.
With the whole one division having 5 teams and the other one having 3.
Right.
Which we can argue at another time whether that's fair or not, but the current standings for the Metro Division is Washington in first with 55, the Islanders with 49, Carolina with 46, Pittsburgh with 46, Flyers with 43, the Rangers with 36, Columbus with 36, and New Jersey with 27. So we're seeing a huge divide between Philadelphia with 43 and the Rangers with 36, and then again with Columbus with 36 and New Jersey with 27. So those top 5 teams for in the Metro, I believe, have more points than the second team in the Atlantic, I believe, which is pretty amazing.
I hate that whole standing system, the top 3 in the wild cards. I hate it. Because right now you have the Flyers and Pittsburgh in the wild card spots, and they got more points than Florida. I mean, it's just...
What do you think is the main deterrent of the NHL not having a 1-16 matchup
They like
system?
the first round matchups because they say they're more competitive.
Because of the rivalries?
This has nothing to do with rivalries. They want good first round right at the gate. That's what Bettman keeps saying.
So you don't want a 16 playing
He
a
doesn't
1.
want the first or the best team playing the worst playoff team. He wants 2 and 3. He wants that Boston Leafs first round every time. I don't know why he wants that.
I don't know why he wants that either, because if they are the good teams that they're said to be, then they'll meet up later in the
You're
playoffs.
hurting the later rounds. You're letting a team that's not as good advance.
Exactly. You're losing viewers as well, because there's I mean, if
you're not necessarily losing the viewers, and this is to his point, I guess, the Toronto-Boston playoff games have been highly watched.
Yeah.
But that shouldn't be a first-round matchup.
But that's what I'm saying. You're
When
gonna,
they're 2 and 3.
You're going to lose viewers because think about the market in Toronto and think about the market in Boston. One of those teams is going by in the first round.
So what he's saying is they're going into the playoffs, and that their first round of the playoffs are getting amazing numbers. That's what he's saying. But to your point, the next round's not going to be as great. I mean, it would be like that no matter what, because some fans aren't advancing.
Right.
But I think the product is getting less competitive until it gets to that final point, I suppose. Like the Stanley Cup final, in theory, should be the best team against the best team based on who performs as well. But I don't like it. I'm with you. Bring back the old system.
1 versus 8?
Yeah.
Well, what about 1 versus 16? What's the biggest deterrent of 1 versus 16? Is it travel?
Well, I think then you kind of run into the issue of East versus West before the Stanley Cup final, and that probably wouldn't be a good thing.
But why?
Well, it's just the way it's implanted in my brain. We don't see it until the Stanley Cup final.
That's it.
Well, travel would be a big part of it, too. Imagine in the first round, okay, say we had Anaheim and Montreal in the first round.
Yeah.
I mean, that would suck.
And then the next game after that is Philadelphia-Pittsburgh.
But what I hate is, okay, if you finish second or third in your division, you're playing a divisional rival, guaranteed, obviously, in the first round. And I think that's what the NHL wants, that you keep hearing them with that word, the rivalries, and that's what they want. And I just hate this playoff format. I absolutely
don't think the rivalries are what they used to be.
No, they're not. They're not. I mean, there's teams that still have rivalries, like Toronto and Montreal, but it's not the same.
It's not as heated as it used to be.
Yeah, no, that stuff's leaving the game.
There's less hate.
Yeah. And that's more professional or whatever.
Yeah, and that's kind of what the older players have said. There's not enough. Brian Burke says it all the time. There's not enough hate in the game.
Yeah. Well, yeah, like after an NBA game, you'll see both teams like going around, "Hey, good game" on the other teammates. And Brian Burke, they seen that there was one game, I can't remember who it was. This was like last year. There was two different teams, and they were talking to each other after the game. Brian hated that. Yeah, says you're not hating each other enough.
And I think that's why the playoffs are so appealing too, because you get to see a lot more hate in the playoffs.
Oh yeah,
because it's the same teams.
It's the same teams,
and they're fighting for something. But you don't need a rivalry before that to get that. You're going to get that no matter what. Exactly.
Yeah, it doesn't matter. Like look at the team. Look at
Boston and Carolina.
Yes,
that's not a rivalry.
No.
Look how heated. What's his name got? The captain. He's not playing this year. What's his name again?
For who?
For Carolina.
Justin Williams.
Yeah. Look how he turned into like a dirty player.
Yeah.
Because he got so heated in that. Like, you don't need a rivalry. The rivalry will form itself.
Yes.
And if you have that playoff rivalry, that will turn into a regular season rivalry next year.
Absolutely. Do you remember the series a couple years ago between the Islanders and the Panthers?
Yes.
I think it was like 3 years ago. That was one of the best series I've ever watched in my life. And if you were to tell me that there would be any kind of a rivalry between the Panthers and the Islanders, I would have told you to go eat sand.
Yeah.
But now, obviously, unfortunately, that rivalry's kind of gone away a little bit. But for that year in the playoffs and the year after, it was really good hockey to see them play.
The way this system works, the two best teams in each conference will always meet in the second round. And to me, a lot of years, you look at that second round and you say, whoever wins that is going to the Cup, is basically how it was going to work. And if I have to see Boston and Toronto again, I'll eat a hat. If I have to see Pittsburgh and Washington again, I'll eat a jersey. Like the list just goes on. These same teams, and
it's exciting hockey, but it's just getting. I want to see new. I want to see new rivalries.
When Seattle joins, you have harmony in the league. 16 in each conference. Top 8 in each conference make it. 1 versus 8, 2 versus 7.
Yes.
Then you really gain something for finishing up high.
Yeah.
Whereas to me, it's almost like a punishment if you finish second and third in your division.
It is a punishment. It literally is a punishment.
You have one heck of a first round on your hands right there if you finish second or third. Whereas if you're in the top 4, you kind of get a bit of benefit there. Say, especially if you finish top, you take on the 8th seed. But I mean, hey, we saw what LA did that year when they went to the Cup as the 8th seed. I mean, stuff can happen, obviously, but still, I just prefer that format.
There should be reward for where you seat in the regular season.
Absolutely.
The regular season should mean something.
And there are situations where you do get a reward, like when Tampa Bay ended up playing New Jersey 2 years ago in the playoffs. Obviously, that was a pretty big gift for Tampa Bay, but one seat down and you have 2 versus 3.
Right.
It's the opposite. It's a complete punishment. So it needs to change, but it won't change anytime soon, at least this season or next.
Right.
The earliest you could change is I think the season after that.
He doesn't want to change it.
He doesn't.
I will be surprised if it changes.
It has to.
The players want to change.
Yeah. It's got to change.
You've seen a lot of interviews with players, and I mean, they're careful, they're professional how they word this, but in other words, they don't like it.
Yeah.
Gary Bettman said the only people complaining about this are Toronto.
If you want to talk to Gary Bettman, you look back there.
You're not supposed to say his name.
Oh.
Eventually, we want people to forget his name, and then we can give out a contest to say what's his name.
Okay.
But I think it's too late. I think we're past that point now.
For you audio listeners, there's a...
I don't even know.
Statue.
Honestly, I don't know why he's back there. We put him back there, and he just stayed there.
He's the
just
mascot.
There.
We were trying to show how far away he is, but you still don't see how far away he is.
Can we tell the viewer what we're gonna do with Gary? Or
I guess so.
This took a dark turn.
Yeah.
we're gonna put a hockey jersey on him and a hockey helmet.
Nice.
Probably after Christmas, but he's always gonna be there. I hope.
Make sure you get that chin strap nice and tight.
His chin strap is
Helmet.
going to be tight.
So the helmet doesn't fall off.
Exactly. What
Yeah.
is he? Is he a scarecrow?
I'm gonna say yes.
I don't know what he is.
It's hard, and also you mentioned it's hard to explain how far away the wall is in
Like
Gary.
when Justin came into our studio, he
Yeah.
couldn't believe how much
Yeah.
room there was.
Yeah, to be honest, the video doesn't do it justice of just how amazing this. I am insanely jealous of this setup. I'm putting that out there.
don't
This
know
is
how we-
awesome.
Like, just get up and walk back there. For you audio listeners, Neil is leaving the microphone. He is walking away. See, even that doesn't really. So, like, our hands are kind of.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not even close. So, yeah, there's lots of room. It's just. What were we talking about before this
I
anyway?
have no idea.
Gary Bettman.
Oh, we were talking about the division or the playoff format.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm
I
with
don't
him. So, do you like 1 to 16? Or?
Heck yeah.
See, I think I'd be okay with it.
That would be
Absolutely.
fresh. You'd have a lot of fresh matchups, but I guarantee the players wouldn't like it.
What would happen if
Because of
you had two West Coast teams in the final?
I don't care.
Do you think the general fan?
I want to see rivalries against new teams. I want to see Vegas and Montreal play in the playoffs. Statistically, that's likely to never happen.
What about like a
Unless they reach
Pittsburgh?
the
What about
final.
like a Pittsburgh Montreal or a Montreal Toronto?
Montreal, Toronto, finals.
for the cup. Dang, that would have viewers.
LA
in
versus
Canada.
Anaheim.
But what would the viewers be like in the States?
Might not be as good, but in
if
Canada
you-
it'd be through the roof.
What if you had a Philly Pittsburgh final?
I'd watch the heck out of that. And I don't even like Pittsburgh.
I don't care who's in the final. I'm watching it. I mean,
See
that's
see,
me.
we're all guilty of that. It doesn't really matter, but
I don't care.
I'd be okay with both. But I think traditionally, I understand the 1 to 8.
Well, traditionally, Gary Bettman can suck on.
PG.
Pikachu.
Abort.
Anyways, yeah, good food for thought there.
Yeah.
The last thing I want to talk about in this podcast, well, let's wrap it up with some Norris talk.
Okay.
So we have some players here. Obviously, Carlson's having an amazing year, 47 points. Hamilton with 34. We got Yossi with 31. Yandel with 29. Weber with 29. Hedman with 29. Every time I talk about the Norris, it all leads back to something that and maybe we all have talked about for the past 3 or 4 years. Why the hell don't we have two defenseman trophies? An offensive trophy and a defenseman trophy.
Yeah, and the argument, because for many years it's just, he's the defenseman with the most points.
Yep.
He gets the Norris. Meanwhile, you got Joe Smith over here, who's a plus 51, has blocked 179 shots. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
There can be a real separation there as to what a solid defenseman truly is. There should be two. Defensemen need more love. Just automatically give an award, the Bobby Orr Trophy, I've said this many times, to the defenseman with the most points, and then the Norris goes to the most defensive defenseman.
I have never heard this idea before, ever.
What?
Really?
I am 100% down with it.
You've never heard this?
Wow.
Nope, we've never had it.
Yeah.
I've never heard you guys have
Oh.
it.
Yeah, because I know I've brought it up many times.
Yeah, we've talked
No.
about it.
There should be two.
Do we
and
have-
I also said you have, the guy who has more assists than anyone else has points, Wayne Gretzky, and there's nothing named after this guy. You have the Wayne Gretzky Trophy, and you give it to the number one playmaker every year, the guy with the most assists.
Yep.
Because to me, a lot of times, it can be more difficult to make the play
Absolutely.
than score the goal.
Yeah, and we're talking
And a
about players like
playmaker deserves some love.
Backstrom.
Yeah.
He would be probably contending. Do we have a defensive trophy for forwards?
Yes.
Exactly.
The Selkie.
Exactly. So why the hell don't we
Almost
have
thought it
one
was a
for
trick question
a
for a second.
defenseman? Like, it's ridiculous.
Yeah, it needs to happen. I mean, they make a big spectacle out of the NHL awards anyway.
Yeah.
Throw a few more in there. The fact that, Mark Messier, nothing against the guy. Moose, he's got a trophy.
He does.
Wayne Gretzky does not have a trophy. Bobby Orr does not have a trophy. Wayne Gretzky's arguably, greatest player ever.
Yep.
Same with Bobby Orr. These guys don't have trophies.
All right. I'm going to ask you something that we've talked about. You know where I'm going with this?
Nope.
Should the trophy names be updated?
Oh, yes.
Oh.
So, for example,
Like,
the
would
Rocket
you-
Richard go to the Ovechkin eventually.
No, I don't think so. I think you should leave them, but I really think more should be added.
But, like, who knows anything about Vezina?
Well, that's fine.
Like, I don't remember what trophy it was. Is the Vezina or the Norris? I can't remember. There's one that's given to a player that wasn't even actually that good. I have to look it up, but I'm not sure. Like, he was not bad, but it wasn't anything amazing. It was just way back in his day he was
Right.
he
Yeah.
was decent. And decent back in the day was not very good because some people could score 9 goals in a game. You know what I mean? Like, it's just totally different now.
I have something completely off topic to say. Did you ever hear of the old player named Aubrey Dick Clapper?
Okay. I have 3 questions. I'm not going to ask you any of them right now.
that's he's in the Hockey Hall of Fame.
Okay, why did you
Dude.
think of that?
I don't know. I was in the Hockey Hall of Fame a couple years ago and I saw his name on a trophy thing.
That guy must have had one rough childhood.
Aubrey Dick Clapper.
Dick Clapper.
No, Dick Clapper.
Oh.
I thought you were saying that too.
Not Dick Clapper.
Okay, I really thought
You
that's
gotta
what you were
pronounce your
saying.
CKs better, my friend.
Dit.
Oh,
Dit. Oh, well, that changes everything. This is okay now.
Dick
Continue.
Clapper.
okay.
Not Dick Clapper.
Wow.
Why do you? Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
You fooled us, bro. That's not cool.
I said Dick Clapper. Roll
No,
the
you
tape.
didn't.
Rewind. Highlight reel.
yeah.
Anyways,
Where did that come from?
I don't know, but that wraps up this podcast. We are going to get ready to go to a Star Wars movie. So thanks, guys, for listening and watching. We really appreciate it. Justin, thanks for joining us for this podcast.
Yes.
This is great.
We are going to work hard on trying to get a better third mic because obviously this is not a long-term option. It just does not sound the way it should. So thanks once again for everyone who's listening and watching. Hope you're having a good day. Hope you're watching lots of hockey. And if you are interested in our Star Wars review, it will be posted on our second channel, More Post to Post, either today or tomorrow. So thank you once again, and we'll catch you later. Adios.